This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, President Trump is pushing a business-first Middle East strategy, saying China's reliance on the Strait of Hormuz could be the key lever to deter conflict and pressure Tehran. Tensions are rising after President Trump rejected Iran's counter-proposal for peace. The White House is now threatening to resume naval escorts in the Strait of Hormuz. Venezuelan acting President Delcy Rodriguez accused the UK and Guyana of fraud at the International Court of Justice, while also rejecting White House comments about Venezuela becoming a U.S. state. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa says he will not resign despite fresh impeachment calls following a key constitutional court ruling on the Fala scandal. A standoff erupted after the NBI tried to arrest Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa. He is now under Senate protective custody as supporters hold an overnight vigil. De la Rosa is contesting the arrest attempt and urging the president to defend national sovereignty, as Duterte's lawyers call the move a due process violation. And in showbiz, Dua Lipa has filed a $15 million lawsuit against Samsung, claiming her image was used without permission in a global ad campaign. I'm Prince Tripoli. Newsline World starts now. For our first story, diplomatic tensions between Washington and Tehran reach a breaking point as President Trump bluntly dismissed Iran's counter-proposal for peace, threatening to resume naval escorts in the Strait of Hormuz. This report from Jane Cunita.
Right now,
Trump says the fragile U.S.-Iran truce established on April 7 is now on massive life support.
I would say the ceasefire is on massive life support, where the doctor walks in and says, "Sir, your loved one has approximately a 1% chance of living." It's unbelievably weak, I would say. I would call it the weakest right now. After reading that piece of garbage they sent us, I didn't even finish reading it.
Trump recently rejected Tehran's 14-point response to the latest U.S. peace plan, calling the document totally unacceptable and a piece of garbage. The U.S. is now reportedly considering a return to Project Freedom, the maritime initiative to escort commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz, potentially ending the temporary pause in offensive operations. In Tehran, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Bakai defended the proposal during his weekly press conference. Bakai asserted that Iran's demands, which include an end to the U.S. naval blockade, the unfreezing of assets, and formal recognition of Iranian sovereignty over the strait, are merely legitimate rights and not excessive demands.
تنها چیزی که مطالبه کردیم حقوق مشروع ایران بوده. من قضاوت رو به شما و مردممون واگذار میکنم که آیا مطالبه ایران برای خاتمه جنگ در منطقه، مطالبه ایران برای توقف راهزنی دریایی علیه کشتی‌های ایران، اونچه که تحت عنوان محاصره دریایی اسمش گذاشتند، مطالبه ایران برای آزاد شدن دارایی‌های متعلق به مردم ایران که سالهاست به ناحق به خاطر فشار آمریکا در بانک‌های خارجی محبوس شده، آیا اینها مطالبه زیادخواهانه است؟
The geopolitical standoff has sent global oil prices soaring to over $104 per barrel. While Pakistan remains the primary mediator, the planned second round of negotiations in Islamabad has yet to materialize. Tensions are further complicated by Israel's stance. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu recently warned that if negotiations fail to remove all nuclear material from Iran, the military option remains on the table. Bakai also accused the U.S. of unilateralism and undermining the United Nations, noting that China and Russia support a more balanced international order. With President Trump scheduled to meet with President Xi Jinping in Beijing later this week, the fate of the Strait of Hormuz and a month-long ceasefire now rests on a razor's edge. This has been Jane Codniter, Global Citizen Correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Trump is deploying a business-first diplomacy in the Middle East, suggesting that China's massive energy dependence on the Strait of Hormuz is the key to preventing regional conflict. Andrea Santos has the details.
The White House is framing its current China policy as a clean break from the past. United States President Donald Trump characterized previous trade relations as a one-way street, asserting that his great relationship with President Xi Jinping has restructured the economic balance to favor the United States Treasury.
I have a great relationship with President Xi. We're doing a lot of business, but it's smart business. We used to be taken advantage of for years with our previous presidents, and now we're doing great with China. We make a lot of money with China. I have a great relationship with President Xi.
But the strategy extends beyond trade. Trump revealed that the administration is counting on China to act as a stabilizing force in the Strait of Hormuz, because Beijing sources approximately 40% of its oil through the narrow passage. Trump argues that China simply cannot afford what he calls a nasty skirmish or a total blockade.
And I think you can see that with the fact that in Hormuz, they get a big percentage, 40% of their oil from Hormuz. There's been no ships coming in, no nasty ships coming in that we end up in skirmishes with. He'd like to see it get done. He doesn't want to see it.
The remarks come amid heightened international concern over security and shipping activity in the strategically important waterway. Trump will pay a visit to China from May 13 to 15. This landmark meeting, the first since the two leaders met in Busan last October, marks a return to the high-level head of state diplomacy that anchored their interactions in 2017. Trump also reiterated his respect for Xi Jinping, expressing hope that the Chinese leader shares the same view toward him.
I respect him a lot, and hopefully he respects me. He didn't respect our previous government, that I can tell you. The guy couldn't talk. It was ridiculous how that ever happened.
Meanwhile, in Beijing, Foreign Ministry spokesman Guo Jiakun stated that the two presidents will have in-depth exchanges on world peace and development. Guo emphasized that head of state diplomacy remains an irreplaceable strategic guide in providing stability for a volatile world. It's a sentiment Trump echoed, claiming that mutual respect has finally returned to the relationship. This has been Andrea Santos, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
The Kremlin has reiterated its readiness to host U.S. President Donald Trump in Moscow, signaling a desire for a high-level summit on Russian soil. According to presidential spokesperson Dmitry Peskov, the invitational is a recurring theme in every phone call between two leaders, marking a significant shift in diplomatic tone as both nations work toward a potential peace settlement in Eastern Europe.
Всегда будет рад встретить своего американского коллегу в Москве. Он говорит, кстати, ему об этом каждый раз на время телефонных разговоров.
Peskov also provided an update on the back-channel diplomacy currently driving the comprehensive peace agreement negotiations. A visit from U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff isn't officially scheduled yet. Peskov noted that Russian presidential aide Yuri Ushakov remains in constant contact with him. The diplomatic momentum stems from a series of high-stakes trilateral meetings held in Florida back in March. Envoy Steve Witkoff described those talks as constructive, focusing on narrowing the remaining gaps between the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine. Despite several rounds of negotiations in recent months, a final comprehensive settlement has yet to be reached. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has declared he will not step down, rejecting renewed calls from his impeachment following a key ruling by the Constitutional Court. The case, which stems from the controversial Falafala farm scandal. Rahil Parba has the details.
I therefore respectfully want to make it clear that I will not resign.
Despite opposition parties using the ruling to demand his immediate resignation, Ramaphosa remains defiant. The political firestorm surrounding President Cyril Ramaphosa intensified this week as the Constitutional Court delivered a judgment regarding the handling of a parliamentary report in the 2020 Falafala farm incident. Ramaphosa made it clear that he intends to finish his term, arguing that the court's decision actually reinforces his right to legal due process.
The Constitutional Court judgment reinforces the principles, the rights and processes underpinning our constitutional order. This explicitly includes the right to take the report of the independent panel on review.
The Falafala scandal traces back to 2020, involving the theft of an estimated $580,000 in cash hidden inside a leather sofa at the president's private game farm. Critics have long questioned why the theft wasn't immediately reported to the police and whether the president violated his oath of office. But Ramaphosa maintains that the court made no finding of misconduct and did not establish prima facie evidence. Meanwhile, South African president also doubled down on his administration's fight against corruption. He highlighted ongoing implementation of recommendations from the State Capture Commission, asserting that his government is successfully reforming state institutions and tackling organized crime. While the president's supporters see the ruling as the legal victory for procedural fairness, his detractors warned that the cloud of Falafala will continue to haunt the African National Congress, Ramaphosa's political party, ahead of the next electoral cycle. This has been Rahil Parba, your Global Citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Venezuela's acting president Delcy Rodriguez has launched a stinging rebuke of the United Kingdom and Guyana at the International Court of Justice. According to British of fraud and obstructing evidence, Rodriguez also took an opportunity to reject recent comments from the White House suggesting Venezuela could become the 51st U.S. state. Almar Frasuelo has the news.
The Peace Palace in The Hague served as the backdrop for a final week of intense oral arguments over the Essequibo, a 160,000 square kilometer territory rich in oil and minerals. Acting President Delcy Rodriguez personally led the Venezuelan delegation, submitting over 3,000 pages of evidence intended to nullify the 1899 arbitral award that set the current borders. Rodriguez claimed that the UK intentionally blocked Caracas from accessing archival evidence for decades, while favoring Guyana's legal team. She maintained that only direct negotiations rather than a court ruling could resolve the 127-year-old fraud.
El resultado de este proceso que busca llevar a la Corte a una situación vergonzosa como es pretender validar un fraude ocurrido hace 127 años, Venezuela no lo va a reconocer porque estaríamos nosotros mismos incurriendo en ilegalidad internacional. Y al final del camino solamente queda una opción. Esa opción es la negociación directa, esa opción es sentarnos las partes a resolver esta controversia territorial, y lo digo por el bien del futuro de Guyana, de Venezuela. Nuestros países están entrelazados, nuestros pueblos están entrelazados y será así por siempre.
The dispute has taken on a new dimension in recent months following the capture of former President Nicolas Maduro and the rise of the Rodriguez-led interim government. Despite a warmer relationship with Washington regarding oil exports, Rodriguez drew a hard line against President Trump's recent social media quips and Fox News remarks about annexing Venezuela as the 51st state.
Bueno, primero que nada, hemos venido a la Corte Internacional de Justicia a defender soberanía, a defender nuestro proceso de independencia. Eso no está previsto. Jamás estaría previsto, porque si algo tenemos los venezolanos y las venezolanas es que amamos nuestro proceso de independencia, amamos a nuestros héroes y heroínas de la independencia, y nosotros seguiremos defendiendo la integridad, la soberanía, la independencia, nuestra historia, que es una historia de gloria de hombres y mujeres que dieron su vida por hacer de nosotros no una colonia, sino un país libre. Bueno, al presidente Trump, él sabe Hemos estado trabajando en una agenda diplomática de cooperación. Ese es el curso y ese es el camino. Venezuela ciertamente es el país que tiene las reservas más grandes de petróleo del planeta y uno también de las más grandes de gas. El camino es la cooperación para el entendimiento entre los países.
While the ICJ is expected to deliberate for several months before issuing a final binding ruling, the geopolitical stakes remain at an all-time high. Guyana currently produces roughly 750,000 barrels of oil per day, much of it from the contested waters. Reporting for Newsline World, Almar Forsuelo, SMNA News.
A fast-moving brush fire that erupted in Florida on Mother's Day has burned more than 4,800 acres along the Broward-Miami-Dade line, trapping some residents and blanketing South Florida in heavy smoke. The updates from Paul Montibon.
What began as a small brush fire near Florida's North Chrome Avenue and Max Fish Camp on May 10 has exploded into Max Road fire. Fueled by historic drought and gusty winds, the blaze is only 20% contained as crews from multiple agencies work to protect nearby communities. In western Broward County, residents near the Holy Lake mobile home community were briefly trapped when flames cut off the only dirt access roads, forcing neighbors to hose down trailers until firefighters arrived. No injuries have been reported, but the fire continues to push toward US-27, triggering blackout smoke warnings for drivers. Thick gray smoke has drifted into Miramar, Weston, and Pembroke Pines. U.S. health officials are urging people with respiratory conditions to stay indoors and keep windows closed. To the south, a separate brush fire near Florida City has periodically shut down the main route to the Florida Keys, diverting traffic back to Chrome Avenue. Firefighting aircraft continue water drops over remote hotspots, but officials say progress depends on a change in weather. With drought expected to last 6 to 9 more weeks, authorities are bracing for a long and volatile Everglades fire season. For God of my country, the Philippines, reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montibon, SMNA News.
Up next, a standoff erupted after the NBI tried to arrest Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa. He is now under Senate protective custody as supporters hold an overnight vigil. De la Rosa is contesting the arrest attempt and urging the president to defend national sovereignty, as Duterte's lawyers call the move a due process violation. More news when Newsline World returns.
Pagod? Nanunuyo ang lalamunan? O baka naman nahihirapan kang mag-focus sa ginagawa? Kapartner, baka naman dehydrated ka na. Ang katawan natin ay binubuo ng halos 60% hanggang 70% na tubig. Kung walang sapat na hydration, parang sasakyang walang gasolina ang ating katawan, hindi makakaarangkada. Bakit nga ba mahalaga ang tamang hydration? Hindi lamang ito pamatid uhaw dahil nakatutulong rin ito sa pagdaloy ng sustansya sa katawan, pagpapanatili ng tamang body temperature at pagpapakinis ng kutis. Kaya't huwag nang hintayin pang mauhaw ka bago uminom. Ang pagkauhaw ay babala na ng iyong katawan na ikaw ay dehydrated na. Ang standard na payo ng mga doktor ay 8 baso ng tubig ang dapat inumin bawat araw. Pero tandaan, depende ito sa iyong timbang, edad at kung gaano ka ka-active. Samantala, narito ang ilang gabay para manatiling hydrated. Simula ng araw sa isang basong tubig. Magbaon ng sariling tumbler para siguradong may maiinom saan man magpunta. At hanggat maaari, piliin ang tubig kaysa mga matatamis na inumin. Kaya mga kapartner, manatiling hydrated para makaiwas sa mas malalang sakit at upang maalagaan ang iyong kalusugan.
the dramatic standoff in the Senate involving the NBI's attempt to arrest Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa draw intense backlash from supporters and allies. The lawyer of former President Rodrigo Duterte immediately condemned the move, calling it a violation of the country's sovereignty and due process of law. Jane Cudnita reports.
In an exclusive interview, Attorney Martin Delgra, legal counsel of former President Duterte, stressed that any foreign warrant of arrest has no force and cannot be directly implemented within Philippine jurisdiction. According to Delgra, the National Bureau of Investigation's attempted arrest of Senator Bato de la Rosa is a major insult to the Philippine judiciary. It can be recalled that the senator served as the former president's chief enforcer in implementing Oplan Tokhang, the Duterte administration's war on drugs campaign. Because of this, the ICC considers him among the co-perpetrators in the case of crimes against humanity. But the lawyer explained that as a sovereign nation, the Philippines has its own laws and courts that must be followed.
A foreign warrant cannot be implemented absolutely within Philippine jurisdiction. Dadaan sa korte ng Pilipinas yan. Ang sanang gawin ng NBI, kung meron man silang natanggap na foreign warrant, marami namang abogado sa NBI, idulog nila sa appropriate Philippine court. At yung judge will determine may sapat bang dahilan na mag-issue ng warrant. At kung may sapat man, then the Philippine court will issue the warrant. And it is that Philippine issued warrant of arrest that will be implemented within the Philippines. Hindi po yung foreign warrant.
Delgra also questioned the credibility of the warrant released by Antonio Trillanes. He insisted that before it can be enforced, it must first be authenticated by the ICC, especially since the institution has long stated that it has not issued any order against De La Rosa. Delgra added that since March 2019, the Philippines is no longer a member of the ICC, so the government is no longer obligated to cooperate with the foreign court. The lawyer stressed that what happened to former President Duterte, who was taken from his own country on March 11, 2025, should not happen again to any Filipino.
Insulto po yan sa ating lahat na Pilipino at insulto sa ating judikatura to our judicial system that a foreign warrant would have to be implemented here within Philippine jurisdiction na hindi dadaan sa ating judicial system. I call for sobriety, I call for reason, I call for the basic application of the law.
The lawyer also called on Justice Secretary Eric Vida to instruct the NBI director to follow proper legal procedures to prevent the standoff between the executive and legislative branches from escalating. For now, all eyes are on the decision of the Supreme Court, where a petition for a temporary restraining order against the said warrant has been filed. This has been Jane Cudnita, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Supporters of Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa held an overnight vigil outside the compound as he has been placed under legislative protective custody. De la Rosa is now challenging the legality of the move, appealing directly to the president to uphold national sovereignty. Jason Rubrico reports.
The atmosphere outside the Senate was charged as loyalists of Senator Bato de la Rosa refused to leave their post overnight. This follows the Senate's decision on Monday to grant him protective custody after National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI agents, attempted to serve an international criminal court warrant within the halls of the legislature. Speaking via video call to the crowds, a defiant De La Rosa expressed his gratitude while maintaining his position of seeking sanctuary within the institution. When asked how long he would remain inside the Senate, De La Rosa admitted There is no certainty yet, and it depends on the decision of the Supreme Court.
We can never tell. Hanggat hindi maglabas yung decision ng Supreme Court sa aming mga petisyon, hindi natin alam kung hanggang saan hanggang kailan kami dito. Kaya natin maglabas yung Supreme Court.
In a direct appeal to Malacanang, Senator De La Rosa urged President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. to prioritize the welfare of all Filipinos.
Para kay Bongbong Marcos, ipatulong natin yan. Malapit na. First and for all, sana isipin niya na siya ay Pilipino. Presidente siya ng isang bayan ng Pilipino. Sana alagaan niya lahat ng Pilipino. Tama po. Yung ang pagkakita po sa kanya, alagaan niya lahat ng Pilipino dahil siya ang presidente ng sambayan ng Pilipinas.
De La Rosa also stressed the rule of law should prevail and added that it is important for the rule of law to prevail and for the correct process to be followed, especially regarding international warrants like those from the International Criminal Court or ICC.
Yung sundin lang yung proseso, yung legal na proseso. Sinasabi na dapat kung maglabas ng warrant ng ICC, ito ay dadaan sa proseso sa ating mga local courts para bigyan ako ng kansa na depensahan ang sarili ko before a Filipino court.
The senator also stressed that it is important for law enforcement agencies to follow the decision of the Supreme Court to maintain the order of the law in the Philippines.
Naka-advise ni Pangulong BBM yung kanyang mga law enforcement agencies na sundin naman yung sinabi ng Supreme Court. Kasi kung hindi natin susundin yun, wala na. We are no longer governed by laws.
Meanwhile, De La Rosa also questioned the alleged role of Antonio Trillanes regarding the issue of the warrant from the ICC.
Pati si Trillanes, hindi ko alam kung anong papel niya sa mundo. Bakit siya may dala-dalang warrant? Hindi naman siya membro ng ICC, hindi naman siya membro ng Interpol, hindi siya membro ng PCTC.
Reporting for Newsline World, I am Jason Rubrico, SMNI News.
The Philippine economy could face a significant downturn as political instability grips the Senate. An analyst warned that the recent standoff over the ICC arrest warrant against Senator Bato Ronald De La Rosa is no longer just a legal battle, but a sovereignty crisis that could shake investor confidence. Daniela Politi has a story.
Geopolitical analyst Professor Ana Malindugoy is sounding the alarm, warning that the escalating friction in the upper chamber may have dire consequences for the nation's financial stability. According to her, this is not merely an issue about the alleged International Criminal Court arrest warrant against Senator Bato de la Rosa, but a major matter involving national sovereignty. Because of this, she expressed concern that the economy could further deteriorate if political instability continues. She also questioned the lack of clear action from the president amid the heated issue. It can be recalled that tension arose between National Bureau of Investigation personnel and Senate security staff, while protests were also held outside the Senate as police heavily secured the area.
Ano ba ang nangyayari sa Marcos administration? Asan si Marcos Jr.? Presidente siya, dapat ayusin niya to at iwasan niya magkaroon ng constitutional crisis between the executive and the legislative branch. Hawak niya ang NBI at ang PNP Under his command yan executive yan
Malindugoy also raised questions over the appearance of former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV in connection with the alleged ICC arrest warrant against Senator De La Rosa.
Why is it that it's Trillanes ang may hawak ng ICC arrest warrant? Ano ang role ni Trillanes? Official ba siyang ano ba yung kanyang official designation for him to even have this warrant of arrest ng ICC? Bakit siya yung may hawak? At in a way, bakit siyang sinusunod ng NBI?
The analysts emphasize that the Philippines is no longer a member of the International Criminal Court and therefore it no longer has jurisdiction over the country. Reporting for Newsline World, Daniela Paulita, SMNI News.
The Philippine National Police is on standby to implement contingency measures following reports of a confirmed warrant from the International Criminal Court against Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa. While official confirmation from the ICC has yet to be released, the PNP maintains it is ready to execute necessary protocols once lawful directives are issued. According to the PNP Public Information Office, the National Police Force will only implement the required steps in strict accordance with due process and 16 legal protocols. The PNP further clarified that any action taken will involve close coordination with the National Central Bureau, the Philippine Center of Transnational Crime, and other relevant government agencies. The PNP added that they will remain guided by existing laws and lawful directives regarding the reported ICC warrant confirmation. At this time, the International Criminal Court has not released an official confirmation regarding the alleged warrant against the senator, who remains under the protective custody of the Senate. Meanwhile, DILG Secretary John Vic Remulla issued a bold challenge to the Philippine National Police, ordering the full mobilization of over 200,025 officers of intensified crackdown of the country's high-profile fugitives. Paul Montibon reports.
Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla appeared frustrated by the number of top fugitives who continue to evade authorities. According to Remulla, the Philippine National Police should not fail in locating Atong Ang, former police officer Gerard Dumlao III, and Zaldi Ko, asserting that the police force has more than enough personnel and resources.
Tatlong tao hindi niyo mahanap, di ba? So, challenge ko sila na yung 200,000 yan, dapat lahat ma-harness para mahanap yung 3 taon to.
Remulla stated that this is a direct directive from President Bongbong Marcos Jr. to intensify operations against fugitives and ensure they are held accountable under the law. He admitted that there are operational challenges such as the porous borders in parts of Mindanao, the country's complicated geography, and the vast connections maintained by these high-profile suspects. Aside from location, the Philippine government is also looking into a possible cover-up by some police officers regarding information on the fugitives' whereabouts.
Meron pa rin yan sigurado ko na panaka-naka na may rotten eggs pa rin. Pero makukuha at makukuha rin namin yan. Diba? It's imperfect eh. It's made up of humans. So yung information chain dyan, laging may breakdown. So we will do our best.
Despite this, the DILG assured that internal cleansing within the police ranks will continue to eliminate so-called rotten eggs and strengthen the credibility of the PNP. For God of my country, the Philippines, reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montibon, SMNA News.
When we return, in showbiz, Dua Lipa has filed a $15 million lawsuit against Samsung, claiming her image was used without permission in a global campaign. More news after the break.
Sa panahon ng ingay, sa panahon ng maraming tanong, panahon na para marinig ang katotohanan.
Sa totoo lang, ano ba talaga ang nangyayari sa ating bansa?
At sa totoo lang, handa ba tayong harapin ang katotohanan?
Sa totoo lang,
dito walang iwasan,
walang paligoy-ligoy,
diretsong usapan.
Sa totoo lang.
Sa SMNI.
Pop star Dua Lipa has filed a $15 million lawsuit against Samsung over claims that her image was used without permission in a television marketing campaign. Meanwhile, actress Blake Lively is facing renewed scrutiny after court documents reportedly revealed customer complaints about her hair care brand, Blake Brown Beauty. Daniela Polite has the buzz.
The legal battle between Dua Lipa and Samsung Electronics moved to federal court on Friday. Reports say the disputed photo was taken backstage with her appearance at the Austin City Limits Festival in 2024, with the artist claiming ownership of the image copyright. According to court filings, Dua Lipa alleges that her photo appeared on packaging for Samsung's Crystal 43-inch TV to imply a high-profile endorsement, and that the image titled Dua Lipa Backstage at Austin City Limits 2024 is copyrighted by the artist. The complaint states that Dua Lipa had no say, control, or input whatsoever regarding the campaign and would not have approved the use of the image. Lipa's legal team claims that despite multiple cease and desist demands sent in June of last year, Samsung's response was dismissive and the infringing packaging remains on shelves globally. The singer is seeking $15 million or around 11 million British pounds in damages. In a separate industry blow, Blake Lively's Blake Brown Beauty line is under fire after internal memos were made public following her recent legal settlement with filmmaker Justin Baldoni. According to documents cited by the press, as of September 2024, the brand was aware that over 40% of customer feedback for its best-selling shampoos cited dryness, brittleness, and breakage. Some users even reported increased hair loss after just a few washes. The reviews became public following the unsealing of internal documents connected to Lively's reported settlement with actor and filmmaker Justin Baldoni. Blake Brown Beauty launched in 2024 around the same time as the release of the film It Ends With Us. While the brand CEO reportedly drafted a damage control strategy to address the dissatisfaction, Lively's representatives have declined to comment, sticking to the brand slogan, "Love your hair and it will love you." Reporting for Newsline World, Daniela Paulita, SMNI News.
In latest sports news, Norwegian rookie Christopher Reiten has claimed his first ever PGA Tour title after prevailing in a tense final round battle at the Truist Championship in North Carolina. Meanwhile, Donovan Mitchell delivered a massive second-half performance at the Cleveland Cavaliers, defeated the Detroit Pistons to level their NBA playoff series. More of this from Carlo de la Peña.
Christopher Reiten delivered a composed back nine performance to secure a breakthrough victory at PGA Tour's Truist Championship held at Quail Hollow in Charlotte. The 27-year-old Norwegian carded a final round 2 under par 69 to finish at 15 under overall and captured a $3.6 million top prize. Reiten became only the second Norwegian golfer to win on the PGA Tour after Victor Hovland. The victory marked a major milestone for the rookie, who had previously considered stepping away from golf in 2021 before reviving his career. American Ricky Fowler and Denmark's Nikolai Højgaard finished tied for second, while overnight leader Alex Fitzpatrick slipped to fourth after a difficult closing round. Meanwhile, four-time Quail Hollow champion Rory McIlroy ended tied for 19th in his final tune-up ahead of next week's PGA Championship. Meanwhile, moving to the hardwood, Donovan Mitchell tied an NBA playoff record after scoring 39 points in the second half of Cleveland's 112-103 victory over Detroit in Game 2 of their Eastern Conference semifinal series. Mitchell finished with 43 points overall and matched the playoff mark set by Eric Sleepy Floyd in 1987. He nearly broke the record late in the fourth quarter, but missed a free throw with under 30 seconds remaining. The Cavaliers erased a 4-point halftime deficit behind a dominant 24-0 scoring run stretching from the end of the second quarter into the third. Mitchell scored 15 points during that decisive stretch as Cleveland took control of the game. James Harden added 24 points and 11 assists for the Cavs, while Evan Mobley contributed 17 points along with 5 blocks and 3 steals. Detroit was led by Caris LeVert with 24 points, while Cade Cunningham was limited to 19 points after scoring at least 20 in his previous playoff games this season. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo De La Peña bringing you the latest sports news.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the song. Humility and sincerity are what counts in the character of a man. And that's all for today's edition of Newsline World. For God in my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Prince Tripoli. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.